All right, guys, here we are again for muscle stuff. So we're going to do muscle things, and then we're going to talk about things like twitching, that kind of twitchy kind of thing. Tone, what muscle tone is, and what a spasm really is, okay? And we're going to go through some different things based on muscle, and also the 3 flavors of muscle. Yes, they come in flavors: salty, spicy, and sour. So anyway, let's get started. Okay, so we're going to talk about a couple different things. What is a twitch? Okay, twitch, T-W-I-T-C-H. And what is tone? Okay, oh, sorry, these are bad. And then what is a spasm? Okay, we're talking about this pain spasm cycle, PSC. We'll do that as well. So when you have a twitch, what a twitch usually is, let me erase this here to not make too much squeaky sounds. I've got to really figure out how that works back there. So a twitch is, we're getting a little upset there. A twitch is either you're getting a neurological pulsing, okay, which will make a fasciculitis or a fasciculation, which is the fascicles. And remember, we have the sarcomeres, which make up the myofibrils, and then there's fascicles. Okay, that's the next part. When a bunch of those are contracting together and they're pulsing, that's called a twitch. Okay, and sometimes we get them in many areas. Sometimes you get them in your shoulder or your chest, or any muscle can get one. And that can be either because of fatigue, it can be from stress, like emotional stress or physical stress, and it can also be from a buildup of sometimes calcium and offset of magnesium and all these other kind of things, and that whole shebang. And sodium and potassium, those guys too. Remember sodium potassium pump from the nerve thing? That's in the last thing. So if your electrolytes are off, dehydration, for example, can do this, like alcohol problems. Drinking too much alcohol, you get a headache, you get twitches sometimes. That's part of why that happens, okay? Tone is the actual tone that the whole muscle holds. And some of your muscles are holding tone right now, especially the ones that are helping you sit up, because those are called your postural muscles. So we have like fast twitch and slow twitch muscles. The fast twitch are the ones that help you move around, and the slow twitch are the ones that kind of help you maintain space or maintain your posture. We call them sometimes anti-gravity muscles because they help you work against gravity. You sit up, because if they didn't work, you just slump over. Because remember, the bones and ligaments and cartilage are just the structure, and in order for it to move or hold a position, it needs the muscles, otherwise it just collapses. Okay, the different kinds of tone you can have when you're doing workouts, for example, or you're doing some kind of exercise, is what's called let's see, put them here, isotonic and isometric. Let's take the words. Tonic is tone, metric is measure, okay, or distance. Iso is same, so you have the same tone. When you're doing a plank, that's an isotonic, okay? When you're doing because you're keeping tone, and you're also, it's isometric because you're keeping space. You're holding it in one place. If you guys remember Atlas, the guy who holds up the world, but there was a guy, I can't remember his name, but he was an advertiser back in the 30s. And Charles Atlas was his name. And in the 30s, he was put out these books of how to do isotonic and isometric exercises to build muscles. So anyway, so let's go into the 3 flavors. So we're going to have 3 types of muscle. First type is 1, smooth. Okay, smooth muscle. 2, skeletal. And 3, cardiac. Okay, those are the 3 types. I know it's terrible writing, but you get what you get. Smooth muscle. Okay, I'm gonna actually stop that. Smooth muscle is actually they're called spindle shape, and spindle shaped muscle cell. A spindle. Remember, like the fairy tale of Sleeping Beauty, and she pokes her finger on the I think it's Sleeping Beauty. She pokes her finger on the cotton spindle, the wool spindle, whatever it is, and she falls asleep. That's what it looks like. So a spindle looks like this. Okay, that's the kind of cell, as opposed to a skeletal muscle, which we'll talk about in a minute. They're shorter, and they have one nucleus. Okay, the The thing with these guys is they're single nucleus. They're slow to fatigue. They don't hold on too long, but they like to contract and let go, and contract and let go. This is where we get peristalsis, which is the movement of stuff inside your gut, and some of the contraction of the arteries and things like that. It uses also, it's involuntary, so you don't usually have much control over it. You can't like voluntarily use them. Okay, you can influence them, but you can't voluntarily use them. Okay, so that's smooth muscle. So those three things: it's involuntary, it's single nucleus, and it has no striations. The striations are what? Stripes. It has no stripes. Okay, which we're going to talk about next. Okay, the next one we're going to do is skeletal. Skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles are called, well, the cells are myofibrils, and they're just fibers, and they're really long. Okay, and they have inside them the sarcomere and these little myofibers, which are called either myosin or actin. Remember we talked about those. There's myosin and actin. Okay, as you remember, the sarcomere, which is the functional unit of the muscle, the actin is to A to Z, actin to the Z line, and then myosin in the middle. Other things to know about these guys: they're striated, so they have stripes when you look at them under a microscope. Number 3 part of them, they have a lot of myoglobin, so they want to like maintain oxygen, a lot of oxygen that holds oxygen inside the muscle, and it's a protein that holds oxygen. And they're also voluntary, so you have control over them, like when you move your face on, you move your arms around and stuff like that. That's skeletal muscle. The next one you get to go over is cardiac. Okay, so cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscles only happen in the heart, is the word cardiac, and they happen in sections. And there's single nuclei in each one of these, whereas like skeletal muscle, which I forgot to tell you, skeletal muscle has like many nuclei all the way through that thing. So there's a lot going on in there. These guys are connected by a thing called an intercalated discs. Okay, there's a little disc in there that helps them all contract at the same time. They become all synergist with each other, and they all contract. And that's how your heart goes, boom, boom, boom. And they're self-regulating. They're unconscious. You have no conscious control over them. They're autonomic, whatever you want to call it, automatic. They're under unconscious control, so they're automatic control. They beat it about, they say 75, but it's more about 45 all by itself. So this is like when the I don't know, what was it, the Aztecs or the Mayans or whoever it was, it went on top of pyramids and cut people's hearts out and hold them up, and then it would still beat. It would beat at about 45 beats per minute until it ran out of oxygen and then starved and then spasmed and fasciculated and all that kind of stuff. Now, cardiac muscle, the cool part about cardiac muscle is, well, not the cool part, the kind of crazy part is it's really good with oxygen. And if it starts to lose oxygen because it has like a infarction, which is a loss, like a dead spot in there where it doesn't get any oxygen, no blood anymore, it'll start to twitch, and that's what we call, say mass twitching. We call it fibrillation. Like fibrillates. Okay, it's an unproductive heart pattern. Cycle, whatever it's called. Not cycle. Rate. Shoot, I can't remember what it's called. Anyway. That's why I have defibrillators. The defibrillator zaps it again, kind of like slaps it, gets it back to, hopefully its normal rate and pattern. So anyway, that's the 3 types of muscle that we had there. So we did what is isometric, what is isotonic, the 3 types of muscles, which are cardiac, smooth, and skeletal. And the question for this session is, this is what, number 3 already? This is number 3 of our muscular stuff, is going back to the last one, on in the nerve cell, on the outside of the nerve cell versus the inside of the nerve cell, is sodium more on the outside or on the inside when it's at rest? There's our question. Put that down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to subscribe, and do your homework, do your discussion boards. We'll meet back again on Wednesday, and hopefully I'll get these posted up before the class and you guys can see them. But don't forget to answer the question, because that's how we're going to do the attendance. So this is April 2020, and so do your stuff, and we'll talk to you later.